Local guests, local news, local sports. WHKY Talk Radio, 1290 AM and 102.3 FM.
First Talk with Hal Row, WHKY Talk Radio.
Good morning. Welcome back to First Talk with Hal Row on WHKY Talk Radio for the Greater Hickory Metro. Normally, the first Monday of the month, we have Chamber Chat, where we welcome the Chamber of Catawba County to talk about what's going on. But Lindsay Keisler, president of your Catawba County Chamber, said, we've got some things going on, and if we could get a little extended time, that would be great. And we worked it out that she was able to be here today, as well as Dedra Flournoy. She is the board chair of the Catawba County Chamber of Commerce. So nice to meet you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, ma'am. Lindsay Keisler, thank you. Now, you have something coming up that we want to talk about this morning. So briefly, if you would, just kind of give us a general idea. What's coming up? When the name of the event is?
Well, I wanted to get the community have the pleasure to meet Dedra.
Right.
As well as, let's talk HR this morning. You said this is an HR kind of morning.
Right.
So we want to talk about one
Right.
of the most critical issues impacting business, and that's talent. So we've got a couple things, as you mentioned, the wage and benefit survey that I'd love to touch on, as well as our diversity, equity, and inclusion summit.
Go. DEI Summit. All right,
Yes.
we want to talk about that. But I do want to meet Ms. Flournoy, because I saw your resume, and I thought, wow, what a great resume, because I saw Ford Motor Company, ConAgra. These are big companies. So I wanted to find out a little bit about you. Now, before we came on the air, you told me born and raised in Chicago?
Yes, correct.
Now, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Did you decide from a young age, HR, business? Tell me a little bit about growing up and how you decided you wanted to do this or got into this.
Absolutely. So, yes, I was born in the Windy City, and I actually started my career as a licensed attorney.
Oh,
so
that's right. I did see that. You got your law degree.
I do.
You know, it's today is National Attorney Appreciation Day.
How timely.
So thank you very much for all that you've done. So you went to law school first, right?
I did. And so I went to the University of Illinois, and they were just embarking upon a joint degree program. So I have a background in business. I went to school to get my MBA and my law degree simultaneously.
Wow. Now, did your family, did your parents attorneys, did they come from big business? What was the driving force there? Did you have mom, dad, brothers, and sisters? What was it that kind of gave you that push in that direction?
Yeah, so my great aunt was an educator.
Okay.
And she was the first person in our family to graduate from college.
Okay.
As a result, she paid it forward, and there are numbers of us who, because of that kind of nudge and push, really continued with our education. So a number of people in our family are doctors, lawyers, PhDs, et cetera, in all walks of life.
Well, you really jumped in. It wasn't enough just to go for the business or attorney. I'm going to be an attorney, and I'm going to focus on business. So you got your law degree.
I did.
And where did you move from there? Tell us a little bit about that.
So I had the fortune of practicing for a really great firm in Central Illinois.
Okay.
But because I had a business background, I started really focusing on labor and employment law.
Okay.
And then transitioned back to Chicago. It was a very different legal environment, and so I decided I really am not addressing the issues.
Okay.
So what I was finding, particularly with my clients, the larger ones in particular, excuse me, were lots of repeat issues. Same bad supervisor, same poorly executed or written policy, not really dealing with the situation. In human resources, you'd get to do that.
Right.
So now I get to draft the policies and implement them.
So you took a look at the problem and said, okay, this is where this is coming from. So I have an opportunity to go down and into this other area and say, okay, let's take care of the problem instead of letting it come to litigation.
Exactly.
Let's go ahead and take care of the problem at the base level so that you were able to do that. And you did that for some pretty big companies, right?
I did.
Ford Motor Company?
Yes.
ConAgra, just to name a couple, formerly with MDI in our area.
Correct.
And of course, now you have just started your own company, Thrive Forward Collective.
I have.
And we'll talk a little bit about that this morning. But in your role as the board chair, tell me a little bit about Catawba County, or the Chamber of Catawba County, the reason that you believe in it, some of the things that you find to be attractive about it, and one of the reasons, or some of the reasons you agreed to be board chair, because it's a difficult position.
Lindsay makes it so much easier.
that's
The
nice to hear.
chamber team is a wonderful group of folks to work with. So it's funny because sometimes Lindsay and I try to sit and remember how we met each other.
Right.
And I don't know that we really recall, but somewhere we touched base pretty early. I was a transplant to the area.
Right.
It's a great place to learn about the community. The chamber is the voice for business in our area. And so I understand as a active member of the community that you have to have really solid economic engines. Small business is an absolute necessity as part of that package. You have to have a great workforce. You have to have really solid educational pillars and stakeholders that are willing to work together. I have found that in all of the aspects of the chamber. And so it has literally been just one building block after another. And I even said this morning, it has been such a positive relationship for me, learning about the community, learning about the vibrancy of the area, and just the wealth of resources, both talent-wise and otherwise, in our area.
One of the things I've heard about this area is this is a great place to be as an entrepreneur. This is a place that will give you a wonderful opportunity to succeed or to fail, and to be able to put that forward. So congratulations on your entrepreneurship with the Thrive Forward Collective. I want to hear more about that this morning. I do want to talk with Ms. Keisler for just a moment, though, if I could. She mentioned pillars, and I know that one of the things that you want to talk about were strategic pillars of the chamber. For the folks who may be listening who are not members, or the folks who need a little reminder who are members, can we talk about that for just a minute?
Sure. And first, I just want to say thank you to Dedra for her leadership. And as you can hear from her professional acumen, that's exactly, the chamber is the people, right? It is the business community and the leaders that step out and say, I don't only just lead in my own organization, but I'm going to use my expertise and lead the community. And so to your point, how those pillars are, it's important that we're strategic and focused. It's important that we listen, we understand the most critical issues impacting business, and then we respond to those. And so this morning we want to focus on one of those pillars, and that's talent at work.
Talent at work.
Talent at work. And
that is a tough thing today. It is everybody I talk to. It's crazy.
That's
everybody.
right.
It doesn't matter who I'm talking to, whether it's Catawba County Schools, whether it's the guy who runs a local tire store. It is tough to find people. It's tough to find talent. More First Talk right after this. Good morning. Welcome back to First Talk with Hal Row on WHKY Talk Radio for the Greater Hickory Metro. Dedra Flournoy joins us this morning. She's the CEO and founder of Thrive Forward Collective. It's a people business, and we're going to find out a little bit about this morning. Of course, you are the board chair for the Chamber of Catawba County. It used to be Catawba County Chamber of Commerce. Now I'm trying to make sure that I get the branding right, because that's important. So it's the Chamber of Catawba County. Lindsay Keisler joins us this morning. We're going to find out a little bit about this morning about, now there's two things that have happened that are going to kind of propel us through the next part of the conversation. One of them is a wage and benefits survey that's come up, and the diversity and equity, is that right? And inclusion summit that's going to be coming up. And that's one of the reasons that we're here this morning. Let's just be upfront and honest about it. We want to sell some tickets. We want to get you involved in this. And the bottom line is you're doing this to help with business in Catawba County.
Absolutely.
That's the main thing that the Chamber wants to do, is to help businesses in Catawba County. So, first of all, wage and benefit survey. Tell me about that. What is that?
So, Hal, before the break, you mentioned the fact that that's the question you hear most often, and I echo that. When I have one-on-ones with business leaders every day, our team hears, my hurdle right now is finding individuals, qualified talent
Talent at work.
to hire. And to be productive. And so this is a focus area for your chamber, and creating strategies on how we can not only increase the number of qualified talent, create pipelines for training and development to fill jobs of highest demand. but also to help walk alongside our businesses to ensure that they are the most competitive that they can be for talent, whether that's from a work culture standpoint, retention standpoint, to even looking at your wages and benefits, ensuring that you are competitive in the marketplace. And so that's the premise for our wage and benefit survey. So we just launched it last week, April the 7th.
Oh, so it's out there now.
It is live now.
Okay.
So this is quite a robust survey.
Okay.
So we tried our best to be include occupations and industries that are represented across our community. So this is not just for manufacturing or for large industry. This is for small business as well, professional services. And
is this going out to management?
Yes. So we've sent this out. We prefer that either senior level leadership or HR leadership to fill this survey out.
Okay.
One representative per company.
One representative. This is where it's been targeted, and that's where you've gone with.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And so we ask anything from your compensation package to your base rate, entry-level rate into your company. We have specific jobs that are of highest demand that we've asked, whether it's a machine operator or a maintenance technician or even a salesperson, outside salesperson. So we're asking this information, keeping it completely confidential,
right.
not sharing any of this information out, so that we can compare you, give you a local feel of how competitive you are in the marketplace. So those that respond will receive a report of this data analyzed, and again, an anonymous report that then you can use to ensure that your wages are where they should be to be able to recruit the most qualified talent.
Will the report also be in a format that we'll not only be able to use in the county of how we stack up here in the county, but how we maybe stack up against other counties in the state of North Carolina, maybe even other states, that we could take a look at and say, oh, okay, well, if X employee in this position is making X amount of dollars here, and this is their compensation and this is their package, but up in Virginia, it's 3 times as much as that, or it's half as much as that, is this report also going to be able to give us an idea of how we stack up state to state, nationwide?
So that data is already available. We are able, when companies request wage information now, it's based on our region or our state. And so we needed something that was local. So the local question was what was unanswered.
All right, gotcha. Now,
Catawba County, our 4-county region. Right now, we compare our wages to Charlotte. And as you know, 2 different markets, completely different. So
that makes sense.
We wanted to fill in that blank.
Right, something we could take a look at across the street.
That's right.
Not necessarily across the country.
That's right.
I'm going to go off script here for just a minute because Lindsay was kind enough to provide me with some great questions and some great things that we wanted to talk about this morning. But Ms. Flournoy, I want to ask you, from an HR point of view, what are the biggest challenges in the HR today? When we take a look at either the Ford Motor Company or the folks across the street right here in Hickory, what are some of the biggest challenges that HR professionals are finding or companies are finding in HR? And I want to kind of preface this, Bob. I've talked to people who say, I have so much time that I have to spend on HR, and I may be thinking about opening my own company, but the HR constraints, of what I have to do are so difficult. You tell me, what are the biggest challenges we're facing in HR? And the reason I ask that is because of talent and acquisition. There is HR becoming, instead of something being helpful, to becoming a stumbling block? And I got about 30 questions in there, so you start wherever you want to. I'm sorry. Biggest challenge for HR professionals or for companies today?
Yeah, so in my opinion, I think that organizations that understand that people are really important understand the importance of human resources and the full complement of the skills that function can bring. So certainly talent pipeline is one piece. Think about the fact that we have 4 going on potentially 5 generations in the workforce. Mm-hmm. And so you have to think about employee relations, but also think about the potential knowledge drain, right? There are roughly 12,000 baby boomers that are retiring every day,
right,
with a significant amount of skill. And now we have to think about millennials. They work differently. They may have different interests. How do you make sure that you're thinking both short-term and long-term about talent? Also about employee engagement. We know that if you are thriving as an employee and you have a great employee experience, you're going to ensure that you have a very strong customer experience. Customer is king and queen. Amazon says that they are customer obsessed. It's an articulated value. And so if we're not taking care of our employees, they're not going to take care of our customers.
Right. So that is the HR position that you're coming from. And that's an interesting way to look at it, because I think so many people take a look at the building blocks and the minutia of the paperwork, and they get caught up in that instead of taking a look at the big picture of human resource and saying, much like you did, if we take a look at the big picture, and this is what's going on here, let's get down to what really makes the difference. And in this case, it's the employees. And it's so interesting to hear you talk about baby boomers and leaving and not being able to replace that with the knowledge drain that's there. Very, very interesting. Let's talk about the next part of what we're here for with the Chamber, and that's the DEI Summit. And that is diversity, equity, and inclusion. You got a summit coming up that will talk about all these aspects. Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
So May 19th, this will be a virtual event. So registration is open now. We do have our speaker lineup already secured, which I'm
great speaker lineup.
Thrilled to have a strong. These are business leaders. These are business leaders that are actively doing the work that Dedra was just referring to every day, looking at their organizations to see, do we have the right people in the right seats? Regardless of their background, do we have the best skill sets that are complementing our business objectives? And so these individuals have tremendous experience, and like I mentioned, they are thought leaders. They are thought leaders in finding the best talent, the most diverse talent. The premise of this, Hal, is very, very, very simple. Diverse companies are more competitive. They're more profitable. They recruit the best talent. They have the highest retention because they allow people to show up as their whole self. And they create spaces for people to be more creative, more innovative, because they feel that they can achieve their highest potential in what they do.
When we come back, we got to go to a break. When we come back, I want to talk about those words, because diversity, equity, inclusion, you're taking a look at this and these words in a very positive, proactive way. Instead of reacting to a negative situation that exists, you want to increase competitiveness, profitability, retention. These are things that can be a positive, a plus for companies. We'll talk about that when we return.
WHKY Talk Radio, 1290 AM and 102.3 FM.
Good morning. Welcome back to First Talk with Hal Row on WHKY Talk Radio for the Greater Hickory Metro. Lindsay Keisler joins us this morning. She's president of the Chamber of Commerce of Catawba County. Also joining us this morning is Dedra Flournoy. She is the board chair for the Chamber here in Catawba County. We were talking during the break about diversity, equity, inclusion, and I asked Lindsay when we came back if she would help me with the definition, maybe, of some of those words, and you just did a great job during the break. So I'm going to take it away from Lindsay and just put it right over to you, because sometimes, and you were absolutely right, because you brought this up, sometimes people hear these words and there's not a positive reaction to them. Sometimes they will almost recoil. That's exactly what I was looking for. Recoil from this. So tell me about these words and why we shouldn't recoil from these words.
Absolutely. So as we talk about the summit, one of the intrinsic values is that we are creating a common language and a format where we get to deal with some of the issues that make us uncomfortable. Diversity simply says that we know that we are alike, but we are also different. And those different perspectives bring value. As Lindsay mentioned earlier, most companies that are truly engaged in diversity, equity, and inclusion, they outperform financially in the market space, in market share, et cetera, by a factor of 2x. And so if you think about equity just simply says there should be a place at the table for all. Equal says let's divide it in a way that we all get the same place, but we may not all need that same particular thing. So in our summit, we will talk about the foundational pillars of education and awareness. And we hope that people take away it's an opportunity to grow business, an opportunity to grow our community. We have the opportunity to tap into the resources, the knowledge, the strength, and the skills of our entire community. It's the difference between saying, here, have a slice of the pie versus build a bigger pie. It's the difference between having a 3-layer cake versus a 5-layer cake. There's more for all.
And that's one of the things. Now, help me, because we talked about diversity, we talked about equity. Help me with inclusion. What does inclusion mean?
Inclusion simply means that we are recognizing that if there are more voices at the table and in the room, we can reach a better outcome and decision. I think historically there have been people who have been excluded from the table, the room, the organization. And so what we're finding is that, again, based on the marketplace, based on the changing demographics of our country, based upon having multiple generations in the workforce. So we know that diversity historically may just have one lens, right? Race or gender. But there are so many other different variables that help ultimately make us all human, but there are also nuances to being who we are as individuals.
And for what I'm learning and what I'm hearing this morning, if I'm talking about inclusion, I'm talking about being able to relate to a larger group, like you said, the bigger pie. Thus, it's going to mean more profitability. It's going to mean more accessibility to more communities, yes. And being able to bring those in and saying, what do you think of our product? Mm-hmm. What do you think of the way that this sofa feels to you? Would this fit into your home? Tell me about this. No, it really wouldn't fit into my home because of whatever reason. So you're able to talk about more groups and being able to expose what you're doing as a company, as a corporation, as a service provider to more different people.
Absolutely. And so whether someone's
That's interesting. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say whether someone's differently abled, right? And so think about the innovation that has come about by stoplights that make a noise, right, as opposed to just being a visual cue. That came about because of an inclusive way of thinking.
Lindsay, yes, you were waving your hand over here.
Well, the other part is being more inclusive. And think, just another example, job descriptions that are in multiple languages. We're already seeing that across our community, right? If you want to reach the best talent, you can translate your job descriptions into Spanish or into Hmong. So we're already seeing these things happen. And again, a part of our summit is to elevate and shine a light on the best practices that are already happening around us every day in our local business community.
One of the things you like to talk about is flipping the script. And we didn't get a big chance to talk about this, but sometimes people will hear diversity, equity, inclusion, and they won't think of the positives. Yeah. And this is one of the things that you want to bring with this summit is saying we're not taking a look at the negatives here. There may be some negatives out there, and we need to recognize them. We need to understand them, but we want to talk about the positive parts of this. We want to talk about being competitive. We want to talk about being profitable. I think everyone wants to talk about job retention. Mm-hmm. And if these are the factors that go into this, if this DEI bring these into a company, then I think everyone should be for the simple reason of those things. Why would you not want to do that?
That's right.
As a positive, not as a negative or a response to something that's happening, but as a proactive way of saying, hey, if you want your company to be more profitable, if you want your company to be more competitive, here are some things you can do. So we're bringing you something that should be of interest to you. We're offering you something that's just more of a service.
If you look demographically, our community is getting more diverse in all aspects of diversity. Looking at our very demographics and our data, compare that against demographics across the country, the same. We're becoming more diverse over time. And so going back to the customer reason as well, your customer base is becoming more diverse. So using the right messaging, using the right, all of the things in order to reach your customer of now and of the future, these are we need to start thinking of. We need to, DEI needs to enter the discussion.
And I would even offer, so many of our companies today, the focus is on personalization, and they want to understand the consumer. It's a personalized experience. It's a personalized shopping experience. You can have someone pick your clothes for you. You can have an organization that will formulate the right cosmetics or shampoo or razors, whatever the case may be. And so if you're not contemplating the fact that you have a wide array of potential untapped customers and how to personalize your product or your brand, you are missing out on a tremendous opportunity.
Tough question. How do we get past that lens? How do we make that move and understand that it's a lot more than just being competitive, and it's just more than profitability? How do we get into the fact that it's also good for goodwill in business, and it's also good for people? How do we get to that? How do we get past that lens that has maybe kept us from seeing that part of it as well? Because I totally agree with everything that we just talked about and everything that we just said. But there's also a human factor in this that is maybe you cannot quantify it as well. You cannot put a dollar value on what it means for somebody's life when they get that job, or what it means to somebody when they're able to bring that product or service or that idea to within the company they're working with. How do you get past what has been the negative and move into the land of the forward thinking, and to without these aspects, which are good for business, but how do we get to take a look at what's good for people?
So I think part of what we've been talking about starts with business, because ultimately businesses are about trying to be profitable.
Sure.
But
Right.
it does not end there. And it is about being intentional and recognizing that first we have to come together. We create the forum, such as the summit, to learn and to listen.
Okay.
And I do think that with knowledge is power, right? And ultimately, if we really want to build a vibrant community, a sustainable community, if we truly want to recognize the fact that if my neighbor does well, therefore I do well, I think that those are natural offshoots, right? The first step is recognizing that there is some discomfort in the unknown. And in coming to the summit, in being an active participant, it's what you put in, but it's also what you take away. And I think that in that intentionality, we will learn a little bit more about our neighbors, we'll learn a bit more about our community, and we will put the pillars in place to sustain the future of this community.
Would you also agree that maybe sometimes it's just not the education, but there's also a level of fear there?
There's absolutely.
And with you talked about, of course, knowledge is power, and we have that part of it. But overcoming that fear, and the more that we know, the less fearful we are, the better that we're able to operate in a relaxed and in a more positive way, I think, when that fear is removed.
Absolutely. And so at one of the breaks, we were talking about the influences of the media or other forums that create maybe those stereotypes, right? And so when we don't know, we often short circuit and default to those things that we may think through
Sure.
our stereotypes and our biases. And when you come to an intentional forum such as the summit, it allows you to learn and dispel those notions. And so when you think about maybe a particular situation or demographic, you don't have to have a natural reaction of fear, because then you can tap into the synapses of your brain that have been developed in the summit, and you can say, well, in that conversation, we
Right.
talked about this, or I had an opportunity to learn more about X. And so that allows us the opportunity to build and grow.
So it is learning, and it is intentional, and these are things that we have to take the steps to do so that we can get in that position to be able to be more comfortable with our friends and neighbors, so that we can overcome those past ideas that we've had that have maybe been ideas that we've had. We don't even know where they came from, but they're just
Absolutely.
part of who we are. So get signed up for the summit. Tell me about what the summit. Now, it's going to be virtual.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about what we're going to learn at the summit. And y'all got to remind me before we leave, because I do want to hear about Thrive Forward Collective. I want to hear about your new business, because you're an entrepreneur, and I always like hearing about entrepreneurs. So I like to hear about that. But tell me about the summit.
Sure. So let me do a quick rundown of our speaker lineup. Courtney White, he's from the Raleigh area. He's Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer for a larger company down there. He's going to give the business case for DEI, exactly what we've been talking about this morning.
Right.
Dana Moss, Diversity and Inclusion Officer with Corning Incorporated. We have a business leader panel from Erica Bartlett, Greystone Eye, Cassia Dowdy, Design Foundry, Christopher Chestnut with Google Data Center, and Lenore, and John Samuel. He's from the Raleigh area. He's Abler 360. Good trouble, making it good and avoiding the trouble. We've got an attorney that's a labor law attorney, Kim Carando with Smith Law, who's going to be giving us information on employment law. And then finally, we're going to end with Tom Verbeck. He's the VP of HR, Talent, and Organizational Development with CommScope. And he's going to talk about their journey and lessons learned from They call it the Road to Inclusion and Equality with CommScope.
Big time panel. Looks like we're going to have a lot to learn from some real business leaders. More First Talk right after this. Good morning. Welcome back to First Talk with Hal Row on WHKY Talk Radio for the Greater Hickory Metro. Dedra Flournoy joins us this morning. She is the board chair for the Chamber of Catawba County, the Catawba County Chamber of Commerce. Lindsay Keisler joins us this morning, president of the Chamber. Ms. Flournoy, before time gets away from us, I want to hear about Thrive Forward Collective, the Thrive Forward Collective, your new business. You've done a lot in a lot of different companies, and let's talk about where you are now with career and where you want to be with Thrive Forward Collective as an entrepreneur.
As an entrepreneur, and so I again thank Lindsay and the Chamber for the prompting, but in my 20 plus years of experience in the HR space, Thrive Forward Collective is a people solutions consulting team. And what I'm focused on is helping small to medium businesses that may not have a dedicated HR team focus on those things that are important for the employee experience. That can range from team development, it can be executive coaching, it can be a focus on employee relations and really trying to unpack, what are some of the challenges that are in their work environment. And so I'm delighted to be able to bring to the community my wealth of experience. I certainly also understand the legalistic component of employee relations as well.
So with this, will you be doing this individually? Is the dream or is the thought to bring on more people who you are able to train and to be able to touch a wider group and more companies in the area?
Absolutely, and to partner with, thus the collective part. The people space really is about relationships. It is about, if we create the right ecosystem, we can all thrive and move forward. And so that was a lot of the impetus behind the name of the company. So perhaps there's an organization that really wants to understand benefits a a bit more.
Oh, well, good.
Or understand insurance, right?
Benefits insurance. That really, it does. It is mind-blowing. It's baffling for a lot of people who may come into business and really know how to make the better mousetrap.
Absolutely.
They have got the widget down. They have made the widget. But then it gets into HR, it gets into benefits, and they're
or
just
workers' comp, et cetera.
And they've just
so
got
through
no
the
idea.
network,
Right.
exactly, I can partner with people in my industry to help bring those solutions.
This really is a niche industry that we need. You've seen a need that obviously, again, that may be one of your talents,
Yes.
is taking a look and saying, okay, this is the situation, this is the problem. How do we go about solving this, and how do we put the solution forward? And I like what you do because you go from the big picture and you start to take a look at those things and say, okay, where does this come from? What's it? So you'll do well with this.
Thank you. I'm hoping so.
Because I think that people who are in a position where they're building the better mousetrap, where they have perfected the widget, they need that. They have to have that. If they don't, they are not going to thrive.
Correct.
They are going to spend an inordinate amount of time trying to learn an area of the business that is a necessity. But it takes years. You're never really through learning the HR part of it. And I guess you'd be able to help too with, and I don't know that this will be part of the company, but when you're talking about relationships, you may be that person who says, here's what you need to do when you're taking a look at hiring. Here's what you're going to need to take a look at if you need to let somebody go. You're going to be able to help with a lot of companies. They don't know how to do that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, this will do. So, before we wrap up, because we have just minutes left, how do we get in touch with you?
You can get in touch with me. I have started my website, and so it is www.thriveforwardcollective.com.
Easy enough. Thriveforwardcollective.com.
Yes.
Very good. Will you be presenting at the upcoming...
At the summit?
Yes, at the summit.
So I have the pleasure of being the moderator for the business panel.
Gotcha. Okay, very, very good. Okay. Lindsay Keisler, how do we get in touch with the... how do we get... Because I noticed that when I pulled this yesterday, that there are a couple different pricing structures.
Yes.
Members, non-members, and groups for the chamber.
That's right.
And she's sitting here saying, he did really got it right.
Thank you, Hal. So
actually really did pull it up.
I know, you did your homework.
Put it out. Yeah.
If you are a senior level leader in your company, if you are in the HR function, or if you are an individual that has influence, or you want to just you're on your own journey, you want to discover, you want to learn, that this event is for you. I want to get the right people there to receive this information. So I encourage you to register today. So as you mentioned, on our events calendar on our website, so catawbachamber.org, our member rate is $75 to attend, and then we have a community rate of $89 to attend. We also offer a batch discount if you'd like to bring several members from your team, and we can accommodate you there as well. There is the link from our calendar goes to a dedicated website for the event. You can learn more about all the speakers that I mentioned, more about the topics and the actual specific agenda. And like all of our events, we hope that it's a great experience. It's more than just a Zoom meeting, right? It kind of increase that production value. This will be live streamed onto an attendee platform give us a chat room feature where you can engage with other attendees across the community.
Your last one was really, really good. I guess that was the annual meeting where you had that, and that was a wonderful opportunity. If no one had attended a virtual meeting, you really did have some great things going. The only thing there were no little finger sandwiches in the for the little break, but you had the breakout rooms and things like that. But it was really a wonderful. What are you excited about? You were excited about that. I want to say that your level of excitement and interest in this is as much as I have seen for any of the events that are coming up. What is it that's exciting to you, and why this particular summit? Because don't get me wrong, I see that you're behind a lot of things, and you do, but there's something about this one, and I don't know what it is, but there's something that is exciting, or you feel is really making forward motion, maybe, for the area. What is it about it that has captured your imagination, your attention with this particular summit? Am I right on that?
As you know, Hal, I get excited about quite a bit when it comes to the work that I have the privilege of doing every day, and it's working on behalf of the business community. I think this is one of the pieces to the puzzle that we haven't directly addressed. We have definitely woven a thread through every opportunity we have to talk about building a more diverse and inclusive community, particularly around business. But I think this gives us an opportunity to, as Dedra mentioned, put some definitions behind this language. And I appreciate the extended time today because I really feel that this opportunity gave us a chance to talk about the intent of this event. And really, my excitement comes from the ripple effect that this could have in terms of a positive economic impact, not only just in Catawba County, but across our region, because we've invited other communities to be involved in this as well. So,
very good.
I appreciate the opportunity to do what I do every day, community. Thank you for supporting your chamber, and Hal, thank you for giving us a
You're more than welcome. It's been great. Ms. Flournoy, very nice meeting you. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Dedra Flournoy, she is the chairman of the board of the Chamber of Catawba County, CEO and founder of Thrive Forward Collective. Go to thriveforwardcollective.com, thriveforwardcollective.com. Lindsay Keisler, president of Catawba County Chamber of Commerce. Always a pleasure to see you, ma'am. Thank you both very much for your time this morning. We're going to go ahead and close the way we normally do, Monday through Thursday, with the greatest song in the world for the greatest nation in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem. Got to do the green air quality forecast for today, right? Don't want to forget our fine folks at Canella. That's right. We almost got biased this morning. We can't do that. Canella is a great sponsor. We want to make sure that the air quality forecast comes out every day from Canella. From Catawba County, including the city of Hickory, it's going to be a green day. That's a green day today for air quality. Enjoy it. Make it a great day. We'll talk tomorrow.
First Talk with Hal Row, WHKY.